Imagine waking up one day and realizing everything around you, your home, your loved ones, even the sky above, is nothing more than an illusion, a highly sophisticated program running on an unfathomably advanced computer. Sounds like science fiction, right? But what if it's not? What if the world as we know it is nothing more than an elaborate simulation? This isn't just a fantasy dreamed up by sci-fi writers. Some of the world's leading scientists, philosophers, and even tech billionaires take this idea very seriously. But why? What evidence do they have? And if we really are in a simulation, what does that mean for us? To understand this mind-bending concept, we have to go back to the roots of an idea that has fascinated thinkers for centuries. The notion that reality isn't what it seems is nothing new. Plato's allegory of the cave, written over 2,000 years ago, described prisoners who had been chained inside a dark cave their entire lives. They could only see shadows on the wall, believing them to be reality. But what if one prisoner escaped and saw the real world for the first time? Would he believe it? Or would he insist that the shadows were real? Now fast forward to today. What if we are those prisoners and the true nature of our reality is hidden from us? Now, here's where things get really interesting. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed something called the simulation hypothesis, and it sent shockwaves through the scientific community. He argued that if a civilization reaches a level of technological advancement where it can create hyper-realistic simulations of conscious beings, then the number of simulated beings would vastly outnumber real ones. Meaning, statistically speaking, it's far more likely that we are in a simulation rather than in base reality. And here's the kicker. This idea isn't just theoretical. Some of the brightest minds in physics and technology, including Elon Musk, believe there's a high probability that we are living inside a simulation right now. Musk once said, "There's a 1 in billions chance we are in base reality." That means he believes it's almost certain we're living in an artificial world. But hold on, is there any real evidence for this? Surprisingly, yes. Some physicists argue that our universe has certain strange limitations that make it look suspiciously like a simulation. Take, for example, the fact that the universe seems to be made up of discrete units, pixels, if you will. In quantum mechanics, reality behaves in a quantized manner, meaning there's a smallest possible unit of space and time, much like pixels in a video game. But the weirdest clue comes from something called the double-slit experiment. This famous experiment showed that particles, like electrons, behave differently when they are being observed. When not being watched, they act like waves, spreading out in all directions. But when they are measured, they suddenly behave like tiny bullets, almost as if the universe is rendering itself only when we look at it. Just like in a video game where details are generated only when a player moves closer. Could this mean we are living in a programmed reality? And if we are in a simulation, who or what created it? But before we try to uncover the nature of our potential programmers, let's dig deeper into some compelling scientific clues that suggest we might not be living in base reality. One of the strangest discoveries in physics is something called the Planck length, the smallest possible measurement in the universe. No matter how powerful our microscopes become, we can't see anything smaller than this limit. That's odd, because in a truly infinite universe, shouldn't we be able to keep zooming in forever? Some scientists believe this could be a sign that reality is pixelated, just like in a simulation, where graphics are made of individual pixels that can't be broken down any further. Could it be that our reality is running on some kind of cosmic processing power with a built-in resolution limit? And then there's the concept of quantum entanglement, one of the weirdest phenomena in all of physics. When two particles become entangled, they can communicate instantly, no matter how far apart they are. Change one, and the other reacts immediately, even if it's on the opposite side of the universe. This seems to break the fundamental rule that nothing can travel faster than light. But what if the reason they can communicate instantly is because they aren't actually separated at all? What if they're just bits of data in a simulation, updating in real time, like when you play an online game and two characters interact in different locations? If this is true, it raises a terrifying question. Are we programmed to never notice the simulation? Some theorists suggest that glitches might exist, tiny errors in the system that occasionally reveal its artificial nature. Have you ever experienced déjà vu, where you feel like you've lived a moment before? Some believe this could be a memory update in the simulation, a moment where the system reloaded reality in real time. Others point to stories of the Mandela effect, where large groups of people remember historical events differently, like whether the Monopoly man ever had a monocle. He didn't. Could this be proof that reality is occasionally rewritten? Now, let's take a step back and consider something even more unsettling. If we are in a simulation, who or what is running it? There are many possibilities, each more fascinating than the last. One idea is that an ultra-advanced alien civilization created this reality to study us. Just like we run computer simulations to predict the weather or simulate ancient civilizations, an advanced species might be running us to observe our history, behavior, or evolution. Some scientists believe that if extraterrestrials exist, they would be so technologically superior that their intelligence would be as incomprehensible to us as our minds are to an ant. To them, our entire universe might just be a high-level experiment running in the background of their civilization's vast computational system. But here's where things take a darker turn. What if the simulation isn't run by aliens, but by our own descendants? Think about it. Humanity is on the verge of creating hyper-realistic artificial worlds through virtual reality, AI, and advanced computing. As our technology improves, we might eventually create simulations so lifelike that the characters inside wouldn't know they were in one. Now ask yourself, if future humans develop this technology, wouldn't they run historical simulations to study their ancestors? And if they did, wouldn't that mean we are likely inside one of those simulations right now? If billions of simulated humans exist for every real human, the chances of us being in base reality shrink to almost zero. But if this is all true, is there a way to escape the simulation? And what happens if we do? If we are living in a simulation, one of the biggest questions is, can we break out of it? And if so, what happens next? Some researchers believe that if we truly are in a programmed reality, there might be hidden ways to detect it, or even escape it. But before we get there, let's explore the motives behind running a simulation in the first place. If this reality is artificial, then whoever designed it must have had a reason. Some believe we could be part of an ancestral simulation, a way for advanced beings to study their past, but others think it might be more than that. What if we are entertainment? Think about it. Billions of people spend hours playing video, games like The Sims, controlling digital characters with lives, emotions, and goals. But those characters don't realize they're in a game. What if our reality works the same way? What if an advanced intelligence is watching us, interacting with us, or even controlling our choices? Maybe the so-called gods and divine experiences people claim to have had throughout history were actually interactions with the beings running the simulation. And then there's an even darker theory. What if this simulation is a prison? Some thinkers suggest that our world might be a form of punishment, a kind of cosmic exile, where consciousness is trapped until it fulfills a certain purpose. This could explain why we struggle with the concept of suffering, free will, and the meaning of existence. If this is a test, who or what are we being tested for? Now, let's get back to the possibility of escaping. Some physicists have theorized that if we truly live in a simulated universe, there might be ways to detect the underlying code. In 2012, a group of researchers proposed an experiment to see if the universe has a built-in resolution limit, similar to how a computer screen has pixels. If the universe is simulated, then at some deep level, reality should break down into a grid-like structure. Strangely enough, certain anomalies in physics, like the maximum speed of light, could be evidence of these built-in restrictions, like the frame rate of a game. But what if someone has already escaped? There have been mystics, philosophers, and even scientists who have claimed to see beyond reality, whether through deep meditation, psychedelic experiences, or near-death events. Some religious teachings suggest that enlightenment, or transcending the material world, is the key to breaking free. Could ancient spiritual figures like Buddha or Jesus have realized that this world is not what it seems? And if they did, were they trying to tell us how to escape? Now let's take this theory one step further. What happens if the simulation shuts down? If we are just data inside an advanced system, does that mean we are at risk of being deleted? Think about this. If the beings running our reality lose interest, or if their world faces a catastrophe, would they simply turn off the program? Some theorists believe that strange events in history, such as unexplained mass extinctions or sudden shifts in civilization, could be the result of a reset in the simulation. Maybe that's why ancient cultures have myths of great floods or past worlds being destroyed and reborn. Could it be that we are living in one version of many failed simulations? But here's the most mind-boggling question of all. Does it even matter? If we're in a simulation, does it change anything about how we should live our lives? Some argue that whether real or not, our experiences feel real to us. And that's what matters. But others believe that if this is a simulation, then finding out the truth is the ultimate goal of existence. So, are we trapped in an artificial world? Is there a way out? And most importantly, if we had the chance to know for sure, would we even want to? If everything we've discussed is true, if we are living inside a simulation, then what does that mean for us? Should we continue living as if nothing is wrong, or should we start searching for answers? And if we do, what happens when we find them? One of the most unsettling ideas is that if we ever prove we're in a simulation, the simulation might shut down. Think about it. If you were playing a game and one of the characters inside realized it was just part of a program, what would you do? Would you let it continue, or would you reset the game? This concept is known as the simulation shutdown hypothesis, and it suggests that the moment we gain undeniable proof, the beings running our reality might decide to erase or reboot us. But here's where things get even stranger. Some scientists and philosophers believe that discovering the simulation wouldn't destroy it. Instead, it might unlock new levels of reality. Imagine realizing you were inside a video game, but then learning how to manipulate the code from within. Could understanding the simulation allow us to bend the rules of reality, to hack the system, alter time, or even break free? Some theorists suggest that individuals who claim to have experienced miracles or supernatural events may have unknowingly tapped into this hidden code. If reality is programmed, then could some people have discovered cheat codes? And then, there's the question of why the simulation exists in the first place. Is it a test, a prison, a game? Some believe it might be a school for consciousness, where we're placed inside a simulated world to learn, grow, and evolve before moving on to the next stage of existence. In this case, life wouldn't just be a simulation, it would be a training ground for something far greater. Perhaps we're here to overcome challenges, develop morality, or discover the truth before ascending to a higher plane of reality. But what if this is just one simulation? Inside another, inside another. This is where we enter the realm of nested simulations, the idea that if one reality can simulate another, then that reality is probably simulated too. Just like a computer can run a virtual machine inside another virtual machine, our universe could be just one layer in an infinite stack of simulated worlds. If that's true, then there may be no true reality, just an endless cycle of simulations running within simulations. If so, then escaping this simulation might not free us. It might just place us inside another one. At this point, you might be wondering, does any of this even matter? If we're in a simulation, does it change how we should live our lives? Some argue that it doesn't, because even if this world is artificial, it still feels real to us. Our emotions, relationships, struggles, and joys still shape who we are. But others argue that if we accept the simulation theory, we should stop blindly following the script and start questioning everything. What is our true purpose here? Who is controlling the simulation? And most importantly, can we take control of our own reality? In the end, we may never know for sure. Perhaps the nature of the simulation is designed to keep us from discovering the truth. But one thing is certain, whether real or simulated, this life is all we have. So, ask yourself, are you just another character playing along? Or are you ready to start bending the rules?